That button. You'll find that if you watch closely that I'm not being very precise, because actually the project lends itself very much to imprecision, and just at the very last second it gets to be precise. So you don't need to worry about being real precise unless you're turning to a specified dimension. So,
When you turn this 90 degrees now, do you need the same type of gouge that you use?
I'm not quite ready to turn it to 90 degrees yet.
Okay.
But I think I'll answer that question. I know what I need to do. Okay. I might have to bail on this piece of wood. Let's see what happens.
Is it kind of funky?
Oh, no, I'm gonna be okay. That's good. So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that I'm back into my material far enough that I don't have the point of the live center goosing up the grain. And then, let's see how big a sphere we're going to get. So, what I've just done there, you know those three intersecting cylinders, that's where the solid between the three of them happens. And then, that is going to be where this cone comes in and this cone comes in.
So the length of what he's marking on the cylinder is equal to the diameter.
Yes. Don't know if I like that sound. All right. Now what I'm going to do is find the center point of this cylindrical solid. And for those of you who are stuck on imperial measurements, I'm sorry. 42.5 mil is the center line. All right, so now put your imagination on this while I do that. Can you envision what my next probable step is going to be? I'm going to skip through in my model of the three coordinates. Now I'm going to start, I've left that. I understand that and I'm using that to my advantage. But now I need to do what I've trained my eye to do, such as I have, which is find those intersections in here and find that spherical solid. Okay? And I'm going to give it a little more juice.
See that 1400?
Yeah, 1400, thank you. What I'm going to do now to do what I just sort of hinted at is I'm going to make a bunch of concentric cuts. Okay, so out here, that's the closest I'm going to be. But by the time I get in there, you can see where the surface of that sphere is going to be. So,
starts on the corner where he has the most wood to remove, and he roughs out the surface of the sphere.
yeah.
He's using the gouge upside down.
No.
No, using it right side up.
Spindle or bowl gouge?
This is a spindle gouge. You could use a bowl gouge. And the advantage of bowl gouge is that this part of the bowl gouge is like a curved skew. And so, you get one of my favorite kind of shavings. Okay, and now for the tricky part, which is, actually I can try it this way. Going the other way. Everybody is right-handed or left-handed. Okay, so okay, that one's a little flat, this one's a little fat. So, oh, now it's really flat.
It's an embellishment.
It is.
You make that look so easy, Tom, on the other side.
Yeah, my right-hand side is a lot easier. There are disadvantages to working in somebody else's shop. Where'd it go? That is going to be a pretty sphere if I...
The other disadvantage is, where did they put it now?
Yeah. Okay, so there's where I started. And now if I just want to check myself, and I'm out by 3/16 right there. So that means I'm going to have to cut this back. Okay?
So you guys know how to make a 3-inch sphere? Start with a 4-inch sphere.
So Tom, do you reset your caliper there to the smaller diameter?
If I want to check it again. Yeah. I'm not going for a specific dimension. I'm just winging it and hoping to heck I come out on the other end okay.
Do you change your center line sometimes?
you'll see what happens with center lines. Theoretically, at least, I shouldn't need to take that off, but I got to take it off this time. But it's practice. Does that look a little better?
Just don't get another catch.
Okay.
I know there's like a little bit of bumpiness on the surface of it. It's not completely smooth.
Not yet.
It will be.
Ridges.
There's always somebody in the crowd who's one step ahead of me. Okay, so I'm thinking that's probably pretty close. I'm going to part it off of there.
Tom,
Yes.
that center line would be useful to never cut away, right?
Yeah, I reestablish it all the time.
You're gonna reestablish it.
I am,
So I was
yeah.
wondering, you could mark the tool rest and know exactly where it was.
Better to
Doesn't
mark the
matter.
wood,
Okay.
yeah. Because once you start moving it, it's never going to be square again to the axis. It's
No, I
going
was
to be
just thinking, if
close.
you wanted to put it back on there now, you could do it.
Well,
I
you'll
don't know
see
if there's
where
any value
it
in
doesn't
that.
matter putting it
Doesn't
back on.
matter. Okay.
There's my pencil.
Christensen leaves all sorts of lines on his when he does his.
Yeah. Okay, there's that. Don't try to part it off at the surface of the sphere, because if you get a little bit of tear out, you got a smaller sphere coming up.
When you mark that sphere with the blade running, you use a real light touch with the pencil, that graphite will penetrate really deeply into the wood, and you end up with a smaller sphere the same amount. So it's real light touch.
What's the speed you use while you're parting it out?
1500. Yeah, I haven't changed the
So the
speed
same
yet.
as you.
Yeah. What was that? Was that you talking there, Steve?
Yeah, always.
I'm gonna have to corral you and this is my editor. I don't know where I'd be without him. Okay,
It's true though, if you do push too hard, it's terrible trying to get that graphite out of the surface.
Especially in a light wood like this.
yeah. And, oop, don't just snap that puppy off of there. Especially with a piece of spalt like this. You'll just rip it all apart. Okay. Now, this is where the other part of the class I'm putting together is going to be important. Because it's been on there that way. And now, what am I going to hang on to it with?
Cut chucks.
Well, I can't hang on to it with that because it'll leave a lot of dents. And people don't like to buy dents in their fancy wood. So, I have some what Richard Graffin calls fitments. And I'm going to take this guy out of here. If you do this trick, make sure you take the point out of your live center if you only have one. I have two by some good fortune. And there's that. 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 And here we are. Now, this piece of spalted stuff is going to be soft, and I can dent it. So I have to be pretty careful.
You can tell them about the chucks that you made.
Oh, yeah. This guy is just a fitment that goes over the nose of the live center. And because it's round and tapered there, it hangs on nice and tight. And you can see if you draw a straight line across the face of the cup, it goes farther than this. It goes past the surface of the sphere, so it will hang on to its captive. And if you've got them one there and one here, there you go. And then the trick is to try to line up your pencil line, your reference line, with the axis of the lathe. Okay? With your former axis where you can work on it.
So the sphere is now perpendicular to where it was before.
That's correct.
In a cross-grain orientation.
So we're now starting work on the y-axis. Okay?
Question.
Yes.
Is there any advantage or disadvantage to using your live center as a taper versus a piece that you put into a regular chuck?
You mean
Like a Morse
like that?
Yes.
One was, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I do this because I like the room around the spindle.
Okay.
But I use this, especially for larger spheres, I'll use something like that. And this is your dovetail spigot. There's another one. In fact, if I get them back, have a look at those. Okay.
Did you make all those?
Yeah. And the class that I'm putting together in my head, one whole part of it, is the making of those. Here we go. This is a Morse taper right there. So that's one of the things that you have to learn how to do if you're going to follow this method. Okay, where am I? Here we go. Okay, so there's going to be some rattly cloppity bunkety here.
So now is this a bowl gouge?
This is a spindle gouge again.
Why?
And why? I like to come in this way across these nubbins, and that way I'm slicing them off rather than tearing them off or scraping.
I was just holding one more.
So, and I want you to watch. Hopefully the light will show on there right and against my black vest, which I'll zip up a little bit to help. You will see we're back to Halloween here because there will be a ghost. Can you see it? Yep. Okay. Now, that ghost is outside of our coordinates. So all I want to do is take that ghost off of there. And this is where light cuts and finesse make a big difference. And I like a little more speed, so I'm going to probably put out to about 1500 right there. That's probably good enough. And I'm going to start with that nubbin in the middle.
For how light it is on the back.
light cuts. And in fact, I'm not going for perfection right now. I'm just getting down almost. And you can see I'm not there yet. I made it farther out than I thought I was going to. Okay. You can see I make a reference for myself in the middle there. And now I know let's see how that does. Now, if I'm just working at speed in my shop, I don't check all this much. But for here, okay, I'm a little fat there now, but that's actually good because you can see I've got a fat spot right under the cups where I'm holding it that I'm going to have to trim off anyway. So, now's when it becomes really important to establish that line. Because what I'm going to do now, uh-oh, trouble. What I have to do now is make sure that I maintain that coaxial relationship between the sphere and the lathe. And where'd it go?
What are you looking for?
My ruler. My little 6-inch rule.
Inch.
I thought it was millimeters.
Here.
That'll do it. Uh-oh.
I know, it's imperial.
Bad news.
Roger.
I really do want to get my rule back. Oh, there it is.
I left my my metric at home.
Okay, so now, do I want this spot right there the same distance from the axis as that spot?
Yep.
I do, okay? Has nothing to do with where the tool rest is. The tool rest is just a reference. So I'm going to put the end of my rule right there where I can see it and roll it around, and I'm at 6.5 mil. I'm going to measure from the other side. Oh, I'm living right.
That's how you know you got it set properly in the lathe?
That's how, oh, that thing really spun on me. Okay, I got to start that all over again. Yes, that's how you know you're staying coaxial. Okay. Wrong one. I don't want that one. I want that one. And as you get rounder and rounder, which you do as you go through the steps, you'll find that if you just wiggle it a little bit like that, it settles right into the right spot. Okay. Good.
So as you're taking those two measurements, don't be shifting your feet around between the first measurement and the second because you want to maintain your orientation with the sight line on the tool rest. Because if you take
Yeah.
a step back, then you've changed your orientation.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And are you're adjusting that so that the two measurements are the same?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
you're just,
That bit where I wiggled it like that,
yeah. So when you said you were living right on your first measurement, were you the same?
Yep.
I was the first time, but then it moved.
You purposely took it out so you could show us how to do it, or what?
Yeah, he did.
No, yeah.
That's the way you planned it.
Say there. That's how you do it.
No, it moved on me when I went to
Oh,
tighten it up. And so you gotta be careful about that. Okay, now where am I? I think I'm ready to do this. Okay, everybody see the ghost?
Yep.
Okay.
It's spooky.
How many of you are devotees of negative rake scrapers? Okay. I knew I would get about that percentage, so I brought along one to see how it works. I experimented with this. I've never used one on spheres until I practiced for today a couple of days ago. It's pretty handy. I like it.
I still don't understand why you're not using a bowl gouge when you rotate it the first time.
No good reason, no bad reason. And if your comfort level with a bowl gouge is where you are, absolutely do that.
I always thought it had something to do with the side grain, end grain concept, and that you never were supposed to use a spindle when you had that situation.
I use spindle gouges on my bowls all the time.
Spindle roughing gouge you wouldn't use.
Yeah, a roughing gouge you would not use it
Something
for
with a
this.
tank.
But this guy is a very versatile tool.
A detail spindle.
This is a bowl gouge.
Okay.
This is an Irish grind bowl gouge. This guy is a spindle detail gouge. Your big no-no is a roughing gouge. Okay? So you wouldn't use this for anything to do with making a sphere. Except for roughing the first cylinder. Yeah.
That's because of that tang.
Yeah.
You ever seen a tang break off on somebody?
Oh, yeah.
I've seen broken tangs, but I've never seen somebody actually do it.
I've had one break.
I tend to get out of the county when I see somebody heading that way. Okay.
That was when my disregard for Chinese steel began.
The thing I like about this guy with the straight edge is it hits only the high spots on a curve.
So Harvard Frank's spindle gouge.
Okay, my pencil lines
Good chance.
are still there, but you can see that I'm getting them. I need to do a little more there.
We're running close on time.
We're running close on time, I knew it. I knew that would happen.
4 minutes over.
We still love you though, Tom.
Before you forget about the graphite penetrating the wood, if you use one of the red and blue pencils like you used to grade your papers with, that's a wax, that's not graphite. That won't penetrate the wood.
It won't, you say?
Will not. It'll sit on the top just fine, but the graphite is so fine, it filters down in, whereas the wax-bound pigment doesn't.
Good point.
So,
That's a pro tip.
Did you hear
All right.
that, Tom?
did I hear that? Yeah.
I think
I'm
you
not
knew
sure I
that.
made sense of it because I got 4 things going at once here. Okay, so now, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time sanding this, but I'll tell you about the approach to take. And I'm actually pretty close here. I think I'm gonna take this one home and work on it some more. It's not gonna, my time's running out and I'm not gonna have it done. But sanding, start wherever you start based on what you've got here. One of those walnut things there, I started at 220 because I just was living right that day when I practiced. This is going to take a little bit coarser sandpaper. Sand it. We'll slow her down a little bit. Whoop. And
Should you take the shore rest out when you're standing?
the
The shore rest?
I use the tool rest to steady my hand, and I reverse the lathe so I'm running in reverse.
Ah,
Okay, so it's going to pull my hand over the top. Okay, so I'm glad you asked that. Just under 1,000. And I can hear that nubbin going by there. And what you'll feel is, as you sand, it will all of a sudden hit a smooth point, stop. Okay? Because that's where you want it to be. And I'm not quite there, but what I'm going to do is show you how I do it. Okay, so there I'm good. Helps push the red button. Okay, so now, this is where I just do it by eye and feel. So I'm going to loosen him. Tighten him. Did you hear it creak as it moved? And now it's good. You don't need to tighten it very much. And I'm going to stand from this way, which is at right angles to the last one.
Pointed right at Skip.
And I do that 3 rounds.
Now, is that gonna be a perfect sphere? The ones I
No.
make are not perfect.
No, the Earth is not a perfect sphere. And this is probably proportionally not as smooth as the Earth is. Okay, if you took this and blew it up the size of the Earth, you'd have some real geography to look at.
Now, people
Okay.
always said you can make billiard balls, and I says, I couldn't.
So here you can see I don't have it centered, but because I'm sanding, that doesn't matter. So I'm just using a relaxed hand and light pressure.
So that bump that I'm looking at has nothing to do with roundness.
This ghost, no, it's pretty round. So now, oh, I started with 180. So now I go to whatever my next grid is, 220, all right? And I just finished with 180 there. If I go to 220, do I need to reposition the sphere? No. Okay, so that's a time efficiency thing. If you're gonna make these for, the grab bag at the corner store, you don't want to use any more time on them than you can avoid. Okay, so now I've done 1 with my next
quick
grit.
question. For sanding, how high do you normally go to on your projects?
400.
400?
Yeah. And that is plenty. By the time they've rolled around in a bowl and had everybody who comes in the door handle them, they don't have a 400 grit finish on them anymore. And they still look good. Okay, so there's round 2. And what I try to do is grab it someplace different every time. Doesn't matter if it's, you don't want to grab it by the same place every time. And sometimes if I feel like I'm not getting that part done right, I'll look for my sanding pattern, which works up to about 220, and then it gets so hard to see. So there's my third round of that grit. Like so. Sorry I ran over.
Can you pick what you finish them with?